Bloodwolf Arts Studio. Unleash the artist within.
Welcome to Bloodwolf Arts Studio, and I am your host, Mr. Moonlight. So today I want to talk about my latest read, Horton Hears A Who by Dr. Seuss. This one was published in 1954. And this one has an interesting history and background to it. I mean, when people think about the Horton Hears A Who, there's always that quote, "A person's a person no matter how small." And just this imagery of the elephant looking out for the who's and the little speck of dust, that nobody can seem to hear. And it's so tiny, he can't see them, but, he can hear them. So he knows they're there. And it's this whole narrative of essentially looking out for people who are so tiny that nobody else can hear them or see them. And so nobody else seems to care. They think he's crazy. So a little bit of the history and the inspiration behind this was actually tied back to World War II and the Japanese. So, and I'm going to show some of this stuff up on the screen, but around the time that this was written was after World War II. But before World War II had happened, then Dr. Seuss, he had actually been quite engaged in politics and, united with America, obviously, and he wrote political cartoons that were they were very racist, and he wrote a lot of stuff that was like about Germany and also the Japanese. And I'm just going to show a couple of those. You'll see them on the screen. So after all of the events of World War II happened, then Dr. Seuss had gone over to Japan. At the time, he was working for like a magazine, and he was over there like getting information and like doing research for this magazine he was working for at the time. And he ended up connecting to a dean of one of the universities over there, who was Japanese, of course. There's an individual named Mitsugi Nakamura. And while he was over there, then, he was seeing the post World War II, after the Japanese had been bombed, everything was flattened, everything was destroyed, and the entire society was just rebuilding. And when he was over there, then he was really inspired by what he was seeing over there and how people were coming together and rebuilding this society and this culture. And he was inspired by the children he saw, or the people he saw over there while he was visiting on this research trip. And after his visit over there, then there was something that shifted. After all this events happened, and things shifted, and his stance changed drastically. And he realized that, regardless of what he was doing before, he had seen like a lot of the effects of this division and demonizing other people and other cultures, and the devastation that was in the devastation that came from that. And he ended up changing his stance on it, and ultimately it ended up inspiring Horton Hears A Who. And in this story, this classic story, then the people, the Who's in the story is actually a representation of the Japanese people, where he's basically just he's basically just talking about, people are people despite the differences, and even though they may be different and they appear very different, and the culture is very different, no matter what it is, the message is a person no matter how small. And essentially this book was a response to his changing political views after the devastation of World War II, and seeing the Japanese rebuild their entire society after being devastated. And he actually ended up dedicating this book to his friend, the dean, that he made while he was over there. And you see it at the start of the book when you read it, which is really cool, because people can change, and it's a really powerful demonstration that doesn't matter how different people are or how much, malice or whatever, hatred or in this case it was racism, then people can change. And when people change, then and you see them making amends, it's like you can see a total 180 spin, and it's a really cool example of how people can change and recognize the differences are actually one of the things that are, make culture and society and our humanity really cool. So that's a bit of the inspiration behind this work. Um, Remember to like and subscribe to my channel here on YouTube, and also check out my place on Facebook. And also, I'll be doing this reading over there on my TikTok as Mr. Moonlight. So thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the other side.